different types of research careers and options that you'll have. The presenters include Elizabeth Benner, who is an academic and career advisor at the OHSU PSU School of Public Health, and will most likely be your contact person as you're transitioning and trying to find out what is available at Portland State or what majors are, etc. So I'll let her address that. We also have Dr. Suzanne Estes, who is the director of the Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Programming. She's also a faculty in the biology department. We also have Cheryl Clounge Rabe. Did I do okay? Cool. All right. She's also a master's. She is an MD, PhD graduate student. So not just getting one doctoral degree, but two doctoral degrees at the OHSU PSU School of Public Health. We have Toutu Faaleva, who is the director of the McNair's program, and it's a project similar to EXITO. We also recruit students and match them with research mentors. We have Dr. Kevin Watanabe Smith, who is a postdoctoral student at OHSU, and Jackie Worth, who is an assistant program director for the PhD programs at the Oregon Health Science University. So we have asked them brief questions. What has your career pathway been? What insights about career pathways can you share with our Bill EXITO scholars? And what's the best piece of career-related advice you ever received?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Suzanne Estes, and I'll start by saying congratulations to you all for being chosen as Build EXITO scholars, and welcome to PSU if this is your first time on campus. So I had to write a few notes down. So again, Carlos just said we were asked to talk a little bit about our pathway, a few insights about those pathways, and then some of the best advice that we've ever gotten. And this was actually a pretty challenging task. So first of all, I am from a teeny little town in southeastern Oklahoma, so that's where my sort of career pathway started, early interest in biology. And I was really pretty ill-suited to be living in this very conservative town. And so did some pretty major screwing off, especially during 1 year of high school. So when I graduated, my GPA was not terrible, but it was kind of mediocre, and I knew I wasn't going to be super competitive for really big schools. And then the other consideration was that I had what I feel like was a pretty healthy fear of debt. And so I knew that if I stayed at the little 4-year school that was there in my hometown, I would be much more competitive getting scholarships. And I could get some help from, I noticed they have a flag up there, a little bit of help from the Chickasaw and Choctaw Nation. And so I stayed there, and a major turning point for me was when my genetics professor, I loved that class, so that was kind of a light bulb moment. He, by the way, did not believe in evolution, which was what I was developing a strong interest in. But to his credit, he suggested that I go to this week-long research thing at the big university in Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, which was called Ancient DNA. And this was pretty newfangled stuff at the time, that you could do analysis on ancient DNA samples and learn something about human history, et cetera. So I did that, and that was my sort of first exposure to the kinds of research that I was becoming pretty passionate about. And then I was also, because this was a tiny school, none of the faculty members did research, which is very different from what you'll experience at PSU and maybe some of your other institutions. But I was able to join the McNair Scholars Program, and this is a program that If you haven't already heard about it, you will, and many of you may benefit from that in the future. I give them almost full credit for my decision to pursue a PhD and for having any idea of how to put together a decent looking application. So I have a sort of a place in my heart for programs like that, which will come up again later. So ended up coming to U of O for my PhD, which I did in evolutionary genetics. Was married to the wrong person. That happens sometimes. You get connected to the wrong person. And my next piece of my career would have been probably pretty different had that not been the case. But I ended up doing a postdoc at Oregon State University, so I sort of stayed local. And then this position, by some freak chance, opened up at PSU, and it seemed like it was written for me. So I was able to join the biology faculty here in 2005. Okay. So because I had this sort of special place in my heart for programs like McNair, when the opportunity to become the director of the Lewis-Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation, if you're affiliated with this program, could you please raise your hand right now? Come on. So you can talk to these people about this later. I jumped at the chance to do that, and it looks like I'm about out of time. So I'll just share one of the most important insights that I have had during my career, and that is that everybody, I'm pretty sure, even the people you think are flying through this with no effort at all, have a crisis of confidence at some point. My big one came during my first year of graduate school, but there's a low point where people think, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I don't belong here, whatever. And the thing that saves you is having a strong and supportive community. And so this is what this room full of people, I hope, is going to be for you. Okay. Ready?
Hey, so my name's Kevin Watanabe Smith, and despite the Japanese-sounding last name, I don't have any Japanese heritage. That's actually my wife's. And I'm going to try my best to give universal advice to you today, even though I come from a very privileged white male with a white-sounding last name for most of my life background, which is, what is your passion for your career? And a lot of you might already have that figured out. You might know that you want to be a nurse, a dentist, a teacher, but I think most of you don't. And I never did either. And I think a lot of times you will get this pressure of what are you most passionate about, and just chase after that, and you'll get there. And that's really easy to say for people who succeeded and made it there, which isn't always the case. I think another reason why we feel this pressure of distilling our passion is this feeling that if we fall behind in our field, we're never going to make it. So a little background on me. I grew up in the area. I went to Canby High School and then George Fox University. When I was at George Fox, I thought I was going to major in like 3 different things my first year. It was going to be political science, biblical studies, or biology. And there's a lot of overlap between those 3, as I'm sure you know. And I ended up finally deciding to go with biology. And the reason isn't because I knew from a young age that I was passionate about biology. It was that I got into biology and I realized that I liked the puzzles that you solve. And I liked the certainty that it had. And I liked political science because I liked debating, but I didn't like how you could just win a debate sometimes by making bad points. And that wasn't jiving with me. And I liked biblical studies, but I couldn't figure out what my career path was going to be in that. And so I ended up in biology. I went to graduate school here at OHSU, and then I joined a lab that works in cancer biology. And when I joined, they said, "What do you love about cancer biology?" And I said, "Nothing." Like, it's interesting, and I like the work you guys are doing in this lab, but like I didn't come here with this passion to fix cancer. I just really enjoy research. And that's fine. You will find that your passion might develop once you start doing something. You might not know you enjoy HR until you're in HR for 3 months. And you're like, hey, this is part of who I am. And that's okay. A lot of times people will think, if I don't get on it early, then I'm going to fall behind and I'm not going to be able to make it in this field. I'm currently trying to make a transition. I'm moving from doing more bench science, working with cells, to doing more data science, working on a computer, programming, moving large data sets around. Part of this field is machine learning, which I haven't gotten into yet. And there's this intimidation factor of who can actually do machine learning. And there's some people I follow on Twitter, and I saw this one thing that came across. And this guy was spouting off. He's a data scientist somewhere, I don't know where. Many software engineers will never truly appreciate modern machine learning. You have to love math as a teen, otherwise I wish you good luck. And someone asked him, okay, what's the path to get there? And he said, this is what you got to do. Ages 8 to 12, have lots of discussions with your mom, dad, and grandpa about science, math, and knowledge. Ages 12 to 16, read all the math books and master calculus. Ages 16 to 22, master computational linear algebra, programming language, and publish some results. That's unrealistic. That is someone who is in a field that is trying to put a gate and a wall around what they can accomplish. And they're going to tell you that if you weren't doing all of this when I was doing it, then you're not going to be able to figure it out. The only reason I saw this tweet is that I follow people in the field who actually do machine learning and write all these programs, and they were all rejecting this entire hypothesis. Because these are people who didn't love math until they were 20, or sometimes still don't love math. Gates around fields can keep you out of programs. It might keep you out of a nursing program. It might keep you out of a degree, but it can't keep you out of a field of study. So what I'm trying to say is follow your passion, but understand that your passion is going to change. And even if that does change, you're not too far behind. There is a degree where you're going to need to push through difficulties in a field. You don't want to keep switching everything at the drop of a hat, but you already know you're going to have to work hard, and I want to encourage you that even if things change, you can still find your way along.
Hi everyone, my name is Cheryl Clanch-Robbie. I'm a 5th year MD PhD student, which means I've been in school for a really, really long time. But I seem to love it, and let me tell you a little bit about my path and how I got where I'm at. It was definitely not something I ever anticipated doing, ever dreamed I could do. No one told me that I could actually do anything like this. Basically, I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic household where you're supposed to cater to all the males in the family and also do and work outside. And so from a very young age, I worked in the field with my family, and that seemed to be the path and what was supposed to be done and what was right. However, I met really great mentors along the way that told me, if you want to get yourself out of this situation and your family into a better place, education is where it's at. And so I really took that to heart. But along the way in high school, I had to drop out of high school because I had to work extremely long hours and contribute to the family, and that was of the utmost importance. But I picked myself back up along the way, went to night school, was able to finish high school, and actually got a scholarship to college. And so I really was struggling with the idea of abandoning my family and actually going towards my dreams. And I went ahead and tried to do both things. I tried to continue to support my family, and continue to study. And every time and every step along the way, I just felt like I was hitting brick walls, like I just couldn't break through. But I persevered, I persisted, and every semester I was in college, I thought I was going to either fail out, drop out, or burn out. But little by little, day after day, one day at a time, I was able to get through, and I actually graduated. And like some of the others here, the support that I received was via the Ronald D. McNair Scholars Program, which really enabled me to continue on with my dreams and introduced me to research and gave me that passion for research that I never knew existed, opened up a completely new realm. They helped me get into graduate school and to complete a master's degree in biochemistry. And along that way, then I started being interested in medicine. And then I was in love with medicine and I was in love with science, and I was like, what do I do? How do I choose? Basically I didn't have to choose. I got into an MD PhD program and I'm doing both. So, you never know along the way what your route is and your path is going to be. And it doesn't need to look like your neighbor's path. It just needs to be your own. And whatever goals you set yourself to have along the way, you just need to persist through it and reevaluate those goals over time. And so I want to leave you with that message, which is what I received along my way, was have those short-term goals, have those long-term goals, and reevaluate along the way and make sure you're aligning yourself with your true self and who you are. And you don't need to feel like you're sacrificing yourself in any particular way by doing something that is not right, or there's never really a right way. Again, it's just whatever your path is your right way. So just find your passion. Step outside the comfort zone. I didn't know that this was going to be my passion. I didn't know that science was my passion. I didn't know that medicine was my passion. But along the way, I discovered through stepping outside my comfort zone that was indeed my passion. And now it seems that I can never focus on anything. I'm getting into programming also. So I'm just interested in absolutely everything, and just step outside your comfort zone, see what there is in the world out there for you, and continue and persist, regardless of all the brick walls it may be coming up. And I would also want to give the advice of just, I think I've actually said it over and over again, persist, just regardless of what your circumstances are, what people tell you, and where you are in life. You create your own path. So, all right, thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Benner. I'm an academic and career advisor for the School of OHSU PSU's School of Public Health. And I would like to reiterate what was first said about a huge congratulations on earning your place in EXITO. And what was also mentioned, you may not always know what your passion is or what you want to do, or what direction exactly that you're going to go. But the fact that you earned your place here today, I hope gives you evidence that whatever you put your mind towards, you can do that. And I want to reiterate as well that there's what I love working about with EXITO scholars at PSU is these students are provided access to some of the most amazing resources of any of the college students here in regards to mentors, research opportunities, and advising. So I just want to stress that at the beginning. And as Carlos noted, there he is, I will be, along with some of my colleagues, there's 4 advisors in the School of Public Health, and we are here to support you transitioning into your program at Portland State University. So there's a team of us. We have Alyssa, myself, Elizabeth, Jane, and Belinda, who can support you. You're all coming in here as transfer students, correct? You've done the college thing before, okay? Any of you wondering, how do my credits transfer? Where do they fit? What should I take next? Anyone concerned about navigating their degree efficiently, saving money, making sure the classes make sense? We're all here to help you with those, and not only understand what satisfies degree requirements, will this check off this box, but more importantly, will this class help you accomplish some of the things you're curious about? There's different ways to move through a degree. You can check off the boxes, but you can also make the experience more meaningful for you. You may all be working on a very similar degree, even if you don't know exactly what the path is, but you all have different interests, slightly, different goals, different values, and different curiosities. And so that is going to take you all in different directions. And so your degrees and the individual paths you take that makes up your degree, it's going to be unique to each of you. And so with that in mind, I really encourage you to utilize the resources that the EXITO program puts in place for you. So that's academic advising. So in the School of Public Health, we're going to be helping over this summer, transitioning all of you kind of into PSU, getting you connected to the appropriate resources. So if your major is in the field of biology, we want you talking with academic advisors and faculty in biology that do the work. Right? If your major's within the School of Public Health and you're focused on community health education, we want you connected with those advisors and working with those faculty members that, again, do that work. So encouraging you to reach out to the resources that are available to you. it's interesting, my career trajectory, that the fact that I'm doing academic and career advising. I changed majors probably about 5 times within 3 years. I got good grades, but I navigated everything by myself. I took classes. I'm like, this sounds interesting. So does this. I didn't access any advising resources. I didn't connect with faculty. I just went to class, got my good grades, kind of did my thing and thought it would work out. I didn't really try putting myself in the environment that I thought I wanted to be or did the things that I was kind of curious about. I just read. I did the work and I got my good grades and I thought it would work out. I got to going into my senior year on my 5th major and finally went to see a career advisor. And I was all over the board with the outcome at the end. And I realized I just needed to take a break. I wasn't going to go into a next year, spend more money, and not be sure in what I wanted to do. After taking that break and coming back, I was so much more engaged. I reached out to faculty. I started doing volunteer. I learned a lot what I didn't like and what I did like. Connecting with faculty encouraged me to apply to a PhD program, something I had never thought that I could do. And so I encourage you more than anything, utilize the resources and make those connections with faculty because those are going to open up so many more opportunities for you. Thank you.
All right, hi, my name is Jackie, and I am the Assistant Dean for Graduate Studies at Oregon Health and Science University, and it is my privilege and pleasure to make sure that our graduate students, all 860 of them, find success during their tenure as students at OHSU and find successful careers upon graduation. So I'm going to give you the happy, shiny version of my career path first, and then we're going to get real, okay? All right, so happy, shiny. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota. Oh, don't you know? And I am a very science and math-driven person. I ended up getting a degree in biochemistry and biophysics from Oregon State. Go Beavs. After which I went to Oregon Health and Science University where I got a PhD in biochemistry. Go Nerds. After which I immediately became a faculty member at OHSU, skipping the postdoc, which is awesome and amazing. And then less than 6 years after I got my PhD from OHSU, I became the dean for the graduate studies program, thereby I now am part of the people that run the very graduate program that I graduated from. So all of that sounds totally badass, and there's not a day that I don't wake up and go, how did I get here? This is awesome, this is amazing, right? So that's the happy, shiny story. But what I want you guys to know is that happy, shiny is only a small portion of what it takes to be successful in a career, and a small portion of what it is to be a human being in this complex world that we live in. So I'm going to start by going all the way back. How many of you guys have been ever called stupid? Anybody? All right. So I was classified as retarded in elementary school. Now this is because I couldn't use scissors and because I drool when I get bored. So this label got attached to me in elementary school, and as such I was put in the retarded class. There was a class called retarded, and I was really just set in a corner to be by myself for years. Now this is really kind of interesting. At the time, I had no idea what was going on. I just thought that I got to play with Play-Doh while everybody else got scissors. But in fact, this was the reason why, is because they really thought I was stupid, terminally stupid. And it wasn't until I became best friends with the gifted and talented coordinator's daughter that they realized that the drooling thing just happens because I'm bored. I'm actually fairly decently intelligent. So that was something that I want to let you guys know, is never listen to anyone that says that you're not smart. So, how many of you guys have been told, yeah, you're pretty smart for a, insert stereotype here? Anybody? I was told, you're pretty smart for a girl in every math class I've ever taken. Elementary school, middle school, high school, college. In my advanced biophysics course, the professor sat down with me and he said, yeah, you got a perfect score on your enzyme kinetics exam. It's pretty good for a girl. And I said, well, how did the boys do? And they're like, well, you know, they did okay, but you did get the highest score. And I'm like, it's pretty good for a girl. Okay. So it's a stereotype that I've had to deal with. I went into a field of biophysics, which does not have traditionally a large female population, but yet I persevered. So the other lesson I want you guys to take away is you can be pretty smart for an insert stereotype here. Go ahead, be pretty smart, all right? So the next thing is I enter graduate school, and graduate school is hard. It is hard, hard work. And then everything was going great. I won a very prestigious fellowship. I was fully funded through this in time. I was working in a great laboratory, and then I developed complex regional pain syndrome. How many of you guys know somebody or have yourself a medical disability? Anybody here? Yeah, it sucks. Complex regional pain syndrome took away my ability to use my hands for 9 months. I'm not saying, oh, I can't quite play Xbox, my hands aren't quite working. I couldn't brush my teeth or wash my hair. I literally lost all use of my hands, which in a research career is kind of devastating because you can't do research. I had to use voice recognition software to take all of my exams. I had to use voice recognition software to type up protocols for my research technician to be able to do the actual lab work. It was devastating. More importantly, I actually went to school on a music scholarship. I'm a classically trained pianist. I lost the ability to use my hands. I lost my ability for my outlet, for my ability to play the piano. It felt like someone was taking away my soul. And it was emotionally devastating. But I persevered. The lesson I want you to take away from that is keep on swimming. You can do anything, even without your hands. So after that particular instance in graduate school, I finally get back on my feet, and then I have a complete, utter nervous breakdown. How many of you guys know somebody that has a mental disability or disorder? Anybody? So I was rather spectacularly diagnosed as being bipolar. In science, mental health is not something that we talk frequently enough about, and I had a complete breakdown, went to the psych ward, did the whole 9 yards, but I came out knowing better about who I am and what I can achieve. So despite the labels that people have put on me, whether that's being retarded, whether that's being smart for a girl, whether that's having a medical disability or a mental disability, I want to let you guys know that you can do anything. Just keep on swimming, as Dory says, and you can achieve whatever it is you want. Find your passion, know that your passion will change. Be flexible, get outside of your box, get outside of your comfort zone, and it's going to be hard. Nothing in life is always going to be easy, but if you rely on the community of people, such as the panelists here today, the excellent staff in the EXITO program, you guys can achieve anything that you want, and you too can have a bright, happy, shiny story. My one ask is that you guys give back by telling people about your story, because you guys in this room have incredible stories, and I can't wait to hear them all. Thanks.
Tulo Multnomah. Tulo Clackamas. Tulo Chinook. Morning. What is the best career advice I got? You can't really divorce career advice from the way you live. Mine was work hard, be honest, don't be afraid if you don't know, ask questions. So those actually apply to everything you're going to do if you just live your life well. So that's for me. I'm sure there are people who do it differently, but that's the way I got it. My first time on an airplane, I was flying to go to New Zealand for high school. I've never been on an airplane, so I had no idea how to do this thing. You know how they talk about putting the seatbelt and all that now? We take it for granted. You know, you're reading the book, you don't even. But for somebody who's on the plane for the first time, I'm really paying attention. So how do you do that? These are things we take for granted. As a kid who was going on the plane for the first time, I actually had to ask. And then the women that were working the airplane, they were really nice. So I think they're used to noticing people being on the airplane for the first time. Okay, so 2 weeks ago, I was at LA. Yeah, it was LA, maybe 3 weeks ago. And I was at the Fiji Lounge, Tambua Club, they call it. So I go in there, and they had all this stuff, like the food, the drinks, everything. So I'm standing there, and how many of you have been to the Hawaii Lounge? Hawaii Lounge, Hawaii Lounge? No? Okay. So I go there because the wait between the flight from Samoa and then the flight here, or from here to Samoa, it's about 8 hours, usually 6 hours. They have great Wi-Fi, and they also have great coffee. And then they have these snacks, you get them in the airplane. But I go into the Fiji Lounge, and they have everything. It's like food, drinks. So I'm standing there thinking, is this free? Or do I have to pay for this? So I waited for somebody to come by, and then I asked, is this stuff free? And the gentleman looked at me, kind of, I got the feeling that he goes, are you an idiot? Don't you know? I said, I really don't know. Are they free? Yeah, it's free. It's free. It comes with your stuff. But I had to ask. And when you ask questions, sometimes people look at you going, But don't be afraid. I mean, I'm used to asking questions, and that works. I assume that I don't know a lot of things, so I'll just ask questions, and that always works. So that's a career advice I got. My route is a little different, but normal for a lot of islanders. The gap between high school and college, I was in the military. Used the GI Bill to go to school, did too many degrees, and then ended up here. I work as the director of the McNair Scholars Program. My first health-related research was in mangroves in Samoa. For a long time, they called me Mr. Mangrove. What the government used to do was to put dumps in mangrove swamps. How many of you know what mangrove swamps are? Thank you. So they used to put sort of trash dumps in there. And then they used to have protection so the ocean doesn't wash things away. But people started dumping everything and there was no protection. But our rugby field, which was the beach, was now inundated with all this crap that was coming in from the ocean. And that was really my motivation. I didn't look at I wasn't thinking, helping health and environmental stuff. It was very simple for me. My rugby field is messed up. So we did some studies. They relocated those dumps, but I had to do a serious study that was funded by the Harvard Institute of Development. Thank you. Have a wonderful time. I'm so honored. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
So now we're going to have some time for questions and answer. I think you have a variety of experiences. You might see yourself in some of those, and some of them that you had no idea that we never got to where we were going in a straight line. But we actually did enjoy that journey. So
I'm kind of bad with names, so is it Jackie? Maybe? Hi. So I'm just really curious, how did you get past the stigma that's around mental illness? Because I've heard so many times that it's a disability, you can't do it. How did you just get past that?
I think it's Annie Gets Your Gun, and it says anything you can do, I can do better. No, I still deal with this all the time, and I am really trying to make sure that I'm really transparent about it and let people know that I am bipolar and I can do this. And it's not the first thing I lead with, but usually I meet somebody, I'm talking about them, my career and advancement, and we're talking about all sorts of different things, and then I'll say, oh yeah, and also one of my passions is mental health advocacy. I myself am bipolar. Really? I had no idea. And then I just kind of, talk a little bit more about how this has shaped who I am. It does hurt. I still get a lot of people that the second they find out, they treat me very differently. Yeah. But I know from my years of experience now that if I just continue to do the best that I can, that there are enough people that I can change their mind on, that it really helps. It helps me get through all of that. The most important thing is that I had a great champion. When I was institutionalized and in the psych ward, my boss, my PI, came to visit me every single day. And that act of humanity and that act of support is something that really stuck with me. And for that person is the reason why I ended up staying in the PhD program, because I wanted to quit. But all it takes is one person, and you will develop that confidence to go forth, and then you can be that one person for somebody else. And that's really what gave me the fortitude to keep on going.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, hi. I just have a questions. I would like answer from any of you, because you guys are all awesomes. Okay. So how did you get into your first professional research, and what set you distinct aside from other candidates?
All right. First, research. So I think I mentioned that the university that I went to, the faculty did not have their own research programs. So through the McNair Scholars Program, they were the ones that connected me to research at a neighboring US EPA lab. And so this lab was working on stuff that was way outside my particular area of interest. So it was mostly groundwater chemistry and bioremediation kinds of stuff. And so that was another sort of piece of advice, is that you can learn from pretty much anything. So even be open to learning from things that aren't in your sort of, you think are in your exact area of interest. And the second part was what set me apart, I guess being eligible for the McNair Scholars Program in that particular case.
That's a great question because I think a lot of getting started in doing any research is just that very first job. Because there is something to when they're looking at a resume and then they see, okay, this person has been in a laboratory and the lab did not blow up. So therefore, I can trust them to like this degree. Towards the end of my sophomore year in college, I started to realize like I needed to get into a research opportunity. And because I was late doing this, because I didn't really know what my passion was in research, the only spot that was left was one of the professors on campus was doing hummingbird research in Arizona. And I have no care for whole animal biology, and hummingbirds are really cute, but like the actual research was like pressing buttons on a computer and staring at a camera the whole time. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but it was a professor who had an opportunity and it gave me a chance. And then the next summer I applied for a position at OHSU and I started working with mice doing a dietary study. So I guess I would echo the idea of if you're trying to get into research, just find that first opportunity wherever it is, and you can totally pivot off of that. But be flexible and try to get that first reference. And in terms of what set me apart, I have no idea. I guess I was looking for a position and there was an open one, but I got lucky there.
Mine's gonna sound very similar. So I was also part of the McNair Scholars Program that, so it set me apart by being able to qualify for that. And they gave me the opportunity to get into different research laboratories that were matched in my areas of interest. But again, pretty vague areas of interest because I didn't know what my interests were. So I had a couple of summers of doing proton exchange membrane fuel cell research, which was really interesting and got me introduced a little bit to engineering, also analytical chemistry research. So, I mean, it's kind of all over the place, just getting your feet wet and finding a mentor that wants to teach you and show you their ways and just being interested and asking questions, and don't be afraid to ask those questions and kind of put yourself in that position. So, yeah.
Again, my recommendations are a little bit similar. My background, I'm a sociologist, so social sciences, so slightly different than the rest of you. But as I mentioned before, when I first started out, I was not fully engaged. I got good grades, but I did everything by myself. And when I decided to make a conscious effort to get to know faculty, so, I mean, they're here, it's your education. They're here to instruct you, and they want to do that. So it's amazing how just they have posted office hours going in and saying, would you take a look at this draft before I turn it in? These are the things I'm kind of curious about. Just showing them that you're interested and you're exploratory, because if you need a letter of reference and they know you got an A in the class, your transcripts already say that, right? So if you want a good letter of recommendation, you want a different opportunity, faculty need to know something more about you. They need to be able to say, you know what, this student, not only are they strong academically, but they went above and beyond. They came into my office hours, they asked curious questions, they were thoughtful, and that's what opened up opportunity for me, just going in and talking with faculty. I was given a couple different opportunities in undergraduate to help with some social science research, and then again I was encouraged to, I was thinking of, oh, maybe I'll apply to graduate school, I'm not sure, and was strongly encouraged to apply to a PhD program. And that's something I never would have had without a mentor or without the opportunity to do research in undergrad. So be curious, ask questions, and use the resources.
How many of you guys know what Ebola is? Anybody? Okay, what's Ebola? It's the coolest disease ever. All right, it's a hemorrhagic fever. You bleed from all of your orifices and then you die. It's amazing. So there was an Ebola outbreak when I was in high school, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to study Ebola!" And so I called up my local microbiology department and I said, "I want to study Ebola." And they said, "Ha ha ha! We don't let high school students do that." But we study fish Ebola. So I started working in a laboratory that studied infectious hematopoietic necrosis virus, which causes fishes to disintegrate from the inside out. And I got to play with thousands of deteriorating fish, which smells just as good as you can imagine. And that is how I got my foot in the door. I got my foot in the door by asking. And I asked, I was curious, I was open. I didn't actually not care so much that it was fish. I just wanted to learn something. And the way that I set myself apart, aside from my morbid curiosity with Ebola, was by working my ass off. I was a high school student. I look really young for my, or I used to. I used to look really young for my age. So I show up and I'm a high school student. I look like I'm 2 years old. And I was given this opportunity to do research. So I took it super seriously. I went to all the seminars. I had no idea what they were saying. I went to lab meetings. I asked a question at every single lab meeting I went to, no matter how stupid I thought it was. And I engaged as much as humanly possible. By the time I left that laboratory at the end of my senior year in high school, I was training the postdocs. So it is through hard work. I'm not smarter than anybody else, but I will work harder than a lot of other people, and that's what I did to set myself apart. That letter of recommendation got me into all the subsequent labs that I've been in since. So just work really hard and absorb like a sponge. No one can know everything about research in your first, second, or even your third research experience. You can learn something from any research experience. Just make sure that you're open to it.
Piyama in Samoa, it means my colleague and dean has covered the subject so thoroughly. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Callie Ackles from the University of Alaska. So you may or may not have a fully developed answer for my question here. And Jack, you kind of already answered it. So we're kind of all between the ages of 18 and 28. I'm on the older end here. And whether or not it's going to be kind of already discussed how there are either crises or traumas that we're either going to be going through or have already gone through. And myself, I'm kind of a psychology and nursing student. So my question is, like, when it comes to going through those low points, do you have suggestions of like what helps you attain that grit in order to keep those stepping points in a move forward, whether or not, I mean, we live in a very technological age where everything seems so cut off from other people, but did you find something that helped you kind of keep that moving forward? Because you are all very successful, obviously, and you didn't stop. Do you believe you have something that helps you and have that grit, I guess, to keep moving forward?
I would say find what works for you. I've learned that not one thing works for me, a number of things work for me, which include exercise, yoga, meditation, just alone time, friend time. So there's just a number of things, and depending on the circumstances and what's going on, I may need one or another of those outlets. So just kind of finding out where you are and who, and what space you're in, and just kind of being really in tune to yourself and what outlet works best at that particular time. Yeah.
So I want to emphasize this point. Even though my message is persevere, 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 it is really hard. There are times when I am very depressed, and it is hard to get that motivation. So I totally want to acknowledge that it's not like it's sunshine and kittens all the time. It is not sunshine and kittens, I would say, most of the time. So you have to acknowledge that sometimes you're going to feel like you just don't even want to try and get the grit. Sometimes you're just going to feel like all you want to do is eat pastries all day long. And I did that. And that's why I'm wearing elastic pants right now. But acknowledging that you're going to hit rough times, and then it's really, for me, as you mentioned, the technological isolation that can happen, the Facebook effect where all you see is the happy, shiny stories from everybody else, is connecting with people that have had life experiences. And that is something that you can find in your research labs. Sometimes you're just going to have to find it through life. Go out and experience life and have life, and that will give you the richness and depth of peer-to-peer support that I think is really key to pulling through the tough times.
I don't know if my advice is good or even healthy, but this is at least how I cope with it, which is that I'm a procrastinator. I wrote a term paper over an all-nighter once. Like, I knew what I was going to write, but there were no words on the page come midnight, and it was due at 9 a.m. And I got an A on that paper, and it was great. And so the way I've managed it is I feel like I oscillate between two poles. I'm either in the, holy crap, this is never going to get done. I need to shut away every feeling I have, every other thing that I need to, like every person in my life, and I'm just going to do this thing. And then it'll oscillate back to, no, you know what? Remember that time you wrote that paper? It's gonna be fine. Babe, let's go catch a movie tonight. And then, holy crap, it's in a week. How am I gonna get this done? So that's at least what's worked for me, is ability to go back and forth between the two.
I mean, that's one approach. So as I mentioned before, finding your community your community of supporters, and that may change or may be different for different people, your family, your Build EXITO peers, or others that you find within your major, say. So one of the things that doesn't happen that often, but it's happened a few times since I've been in the director position of LSAMP, we'll have a student who basically disappears, and I will, maybe a term later, they'll pop back up, and I will learn that they have been going through some, again, major crisis of confidence and trying to deal with it on their own. And sometimes that doesn't work out very well in terms of your GPA. So they have, not asked for help, tanked their GPA, and that sort of thing can be really difficult to recover from. So I would say, don't be afraid to ask for help. Find your people, and it doesn't have to be peers, your EXITO staff members. There are people there to help you.
I'm going to echo that as well. Working with college students every day, I have a box of Kleenex in my office. It's just inevitable. I meet with so many students that come in, and it's like this hunched over, their shoulders are up like this. You can just see the stress emanating. And they don't even know what it is that's stressing them out, but taking a half an hour to just ramble, to get it out of that swirling space in your head, it's like by the time they leave, it's like, okay, there's been no answers. It's just been a place of no judgment to get some of this out of your head, and it helps you process it later. So I think I just want to reiterate, don't feel like you have to do this alone. None of this process is intuitive. Trust your instincts, but use the resources, find your community, find spaces that you feel like you're not being judged, and access those resources. Get it out of your head. Because often we build that stuff up in our head, that I'm an imposter, I can't do this, I don't know what I'm doing. Every single person feels that, every single person. So try not to judge yourself when you're like that. It's okay to be vulnerable, and get it out of your head. Talk with someone about it. You don't have to spill your guts, but just get it out of your head.
The lowest point of my college career was my girlfriend at the time broke up with me. And I thought the world ended. What's the point of living? All that stuff. So I went and saw a counselor, which was the best thing I ever did. So the next time it happened, I was good. So
Excellent.
And I just want to emphasize seeking out help in finding your community, and even if it is that you feel like you can't talk to people because you don't want them to know your inner secrets, seeking out a counselor, a therapist. I'm seeing one, today, later on this afternoon, and just, it's that really safe space where you just don't feel judged and you're able to get it all out. So I really advocate for that.